So let's get it. Okay, so let's address the question Ronnie put first, just to get it out of the way, because it's a good question. It's a very, very good question, and for those of you wondering what the question is, it is what she put in stocks chat, right? Which is I'll just forward it to, there you go. So it's that one, which is where do I stand currently on the lemonade short that I'm in, right? And I think it's a very good question. So let's go and address that question first before we start with the stream. And to address the question, obviously, first thing I'm going to do is just pull up the lemonade chart. So let's take a look, right? It should be here somewhere. Not this one there. LMND. There. Okay, so let's take a look at lemonade, right? I'm not going to close this. I'm not going to close this. Where do I stand? Very important question, because this is also at extremely pivotal areas, right? Lemonades are very, very pivotal areas. So let's take a look. So first and foremost, straight up, just in the, one second, did I get the recording started? Yes, I did. Okay. Just in terms of where we are on lemonade, right? Let's take this bit by bit. Obviously, we already have a chart for this, but I'll just do it from scratch. Where we are in lemonade currently, is it crucial? Well, there's your level number 1 in the yearly, and then this right here, I'm guessing is gonna be the last 4-month close. Yeah, there you go. So already we can look at this and we can say, yeah, right, we're at critical areas, right? That much is very, very obvious. We're at critical areas for lemonade. That 53.85 high, right, which is a yearly high, and also the current last high time frame close we've had, which is the 4-month. It's the 4-month mid. So as long as we're above this, you'd be prioritizing longs. If it's just a black and white thing, you're looking at it, as long as you're above this, the directionality would be to the upside, right, towards 60 and so on and so forth. However, we can look at it deeper than that. So number 2, what else do we have? Another thing we have going for us over here is this parallel channel that we've been confined within, right? And now, based on that parallel, one sec, it wants to act up. Lovely stuff. One sec, guys. Yeah, don't know what's going on. Just give me a moment. I hate it when TradingView does this. It just like randomly glitches the hell out. Like, bro, you've got 2 lines on your screen. Like, can you just chill? One sec, guys. Oh, for God's sake, one sec. OBS is fine. Yeah, nothing here is lagging. It's just TradingView. I'm just going to I'm going to restart it. Just give me one moment. Dumbass. Let's take a look. It's not like, bro, like there's zero reason why I should be. Let me just end that task there, and then I'm going to get started with I'll restream one sec. What the hell is going on? One sec. I'm genuinely clueless, guys. Just give me one moment. I'm so sorry. Is it because of this? Like, come on, it's not because of that. Let me restream. Yeah. Right, can you guys see that? My laptop was spazzing out. Sorry about that. Right, is that visible for you guys? Yeah. We'll look at Lemonade, and then we'll move on to the other cryptos and stuff. Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Okay, so now what's the reason we shorted to begin with? It was the ABCD completion, right? And I know Ronnie's already marked this out on the screen. We've got the 382. I pointed these ahead of time for you guys, and the 4 targets were the 2.24, the 2.618, the 3.14, and then the 3.618. Those were the 4 targets. And we've gone and, we fully hit that. And obviously I didn't give you guys like the top, short, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Remember, it's not about catching the tops or the bottoms. There would have been zero. Obviously, there would not have been enough confidence for me to just go and yam you a short right at the top, right? Trend's not broken. Everything's going up. If for all we know, this could have gone to take that liquidity out. But there just isn't enough for you to be looking at this and be like, yep, I'm just going to take a short there, right? But we did have it when this happened. And I gave you guys that lower time frame entry, right? This was because of a footprint chart. We looked at this, we looked at footprint charts, we looked at the fact that there were aggressive longs trapped over here. And I was saying, okay, there's a point of control there on the 15 minutes. If it gets retested and the sellers buyers can't get back above, that's just a confirmation that those buyers were tapped. We're going to go short, right? We got that fill, like literally within a few hours or something, or the next day. I forget what, but Ronnie tagged me as soon as it happened. And when that fill was got, the short filled for me. And that's why the average short entry after that ping went off, sorry, and then after I looked at the chart, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to enter, right? That's when my entries are like 89 average. And I have not taken profits on that yet, right? Oh my God, bro, what the hell? One sec, guys. TradingView is like actually so dumb today. I don't know what's going on. Am I the only one experiencing this? Like, is anyone else lagging out? Apparently it's my whole laptop. What? Yeah, probably. But okay, let's go back to this. And basically what we're saying here is that was the reason for the short, and I'm not taking any profits because after that we've been on a free fall, right? And I was hoping we'd take some of these lower ones. I've just been in this, right? Because the trend was broken to the downside. And since then it's been to the downside. The last lower high, the later lower hasn't been taken out. So that's the reason I've been holding this, right? But now the question remains, is it a good idea to carry on holding this short, right? And it's a good question raised by Ronnie. So I'm going to take a look at this now. So first things first, are we correlating to key levels? Is there any reason for us to look at this and be worried that we might not go lower? Is it posturing? Is there any strength, right? Well, if we take a look, we know that there is an extremely, extremely obvious consolidation range here, right? Back in 2025, we had this consolidation range before we expanded to the upside, right? We've came down, and yes, we've not raided the lows, and I would love to get a raid of the lows here, right? That'd be amazing. I'd close the short if we got the raid of the lows. But anyhow, we've retested the 2025 6-month point of control, right? This is one of the 2025 6-month levels. That's in this area, and we bounced off that, right? Okay, great. So the lows are being fairly respected for this. Number 2, currently as we speak, we are attempting to reclaim, right? And currently we are above actually the mid of the consolidation range. As long as you're over the mid, we can't be surprised if you once again have a shot back towards range highs, right? So yes, there's signs of strength there. Is there any other signs of strength apart from that? Well, we've looked at it, right? We looked at the fact that this is now above our 4-month mid, right? That's the highest time frame close we've had so far this year, the 4-month mid that's been created, and it's also above our yearly high, right? There's a yearly high here, we're above it. That would be the 2024 high. So in terms of key levels, we're correlating, right? We're correlating very, very nicely. Anything else we can look at? Well, if we go and take a look at the footprint charts next, right? If I go and I open up Lemonade, let's see if there's anything I need to be worried about in terms of the actual footprint, in terms of the aggressive and passive market participants. And if I open up the footprint chart, in fact, why don't I make my life easy? Let's change the ticks to 100 to begin with. And then we'll go to Lemonade, right? We're above our current 6-month point of control, like that's all fine, right? If I look at the yearly, you're above the yearly point of controls in this area. You're above your current yearly point of control. You're above the 2021 yearly point of control. You're above all of this. Your next, so in terms of yearlies, like you value area high with the next target in terms of this, right? Okay, so higher time frame wise, like this could carry on going up to the upside if the medium time frame strength came in, right? So we just take a look. We've got further imbalances we can retest. There is a 6-month point of control all the way up at 148 now, right? That's all the way back from 2021 that we could go and test. In fact, I think I'm right in saying that's the only point of control that's not been tested, right? So, this could go up, hit that lower high, and then die, for all we know, right? If this isn't done going to the upside. So, yes, we've got higher time frame reasons for why we could go higher. And based on the last 4-month close now, however, we do have resistances above us. Come on, trading. It's really not that deep, bro. Give me a moment. I think it could be a heating issue, maybe. The bottom of my laptop's really warm. So once it gets some airflow, let's see if it decides it wants to breathe. Okay, there we go. Okay. Thinking it might have been a heating issue, to be honest. Well, anyway, in terms of the last 4-month closed, right, we have a point of control just above. We need to get above. If we reject from it, like we could go and retest some of the lower ones, which is what I want to see, right? So we've got 4-month targets higher. So the current untested one is, of course, 66, right? 65, 50. If we change the number of ticks, it should show us with greater accuracy exactly what that number is. $65.65, right? So that is the current 4-month point of control we need to be eyeing out. $65.65. So that would be like somewhere around here, basically, right? Lining up with the 2021 12-month point of control. So even if we bounce from here, we have resistance over here that we need to overcome. If it flips into support, we could once again go up to put some sort of W harmonic in. If it doesn't, we could carry on going to the downside, perhaps like, there's some sort of big bear flag. Who knows, right? If I take a look further than that, let's take a look at like the weekly and the daily now. Do I see any signs of strength? Nothing much on the weekly, but we know it's correlating to key levels, right? Let's go to the daily and, okay. If you look at the daily, That is very impressive, right? You have a huge amount. You have volume coming in. Of course, there's nice volume coming in. Negative delta, right? We have way more aggressive sellers than buyers during this daily candle, right? That happened on Friday. But if you take a look, how did we close on that Friday? We closed above the entire value area, above your point of control, value area high, value area close, above everything. Meaning, this is now a clear sign that on Friday we had seller absorption, right? Aggressive sellers were absorbed. The people who were aggressively selling, they went straight to the passive buyers, and then the demand from the passive buyers completely absorbed, right? It took the supply that the aggressive sellers were trying to sell, and they just slurped it all up. So that right there is quite important, because we're saying now, okay, before we closed on Friday, we had a day where Lemonade put in a very, very beautiful candle. So as long as we're above this value area, we will not be surprised if we went higher. Like, we might get a retest when Monday opens to point of control or something, but as long as that holds, you'd be thinking, oh, this could go higher, right? So this is what I am going to do. I'm going to keep an eye on how Monday opens, right? If Monday opens and we just start, we retest, we don't even, literally buyers defend value area high, they don't let it drop below, that will be my sign to take profits. Even if buyers drop it below, they can't lose this point of control value area low. That is going to be my sign to take profits on the short. I'll probably close half and then I'll leave half, right? I'll leave half to see, should we get back over there? Are we going to flip it or not? If we get back over here and we flip it, I'll close the remaining half as well. And then I'll just look for, if it gives us like a move up and we start rejecting from here, I'll just look for another short entry. No problem, right? But for a swing short, which this was, right? This is now the type of structure you watch, and you got to be careful, because yes, it could break down, but if it's not going to break down, these are the type of areas from where you can get a nice move back to the upside, take all of these wicks out, put another macro lower high in, and then after that, perhaps you get a move to the downside. And there is no point in me holding through that, right? I could just take that profit, be in cash, or take half of it, right? And I'll still have another half remaining if we decide we just want to die. And I have a cash also on the side if we do go higher to average back in, and I can also sell the remaining position at if strength comes in at the area where I want to see resistance, right? So this is the current position for the short on Lemonade. I'm just going to put it up for you guys. Just give me one moment. Obviously at the peak it was like 74, 75k profit unrealized. Like I said, I'm not closed a single contract yet. So if I just do that, I'm just going to post it in the chat for you guys. There you go. Right. So that is the current position I still have open on it. And if I close half, I'll basically take about £30,000 profit, right? 31.5, something like this, right? I'll take 31,000 pounds, something like that in profit. I'll leave the other one in case it wants to go lower. If not, and like I said, these start flipping into support, then I will close the remainder as well. And I'll just look to re-short, right? If range highs, for example, turns back into resistance, or we go back and maybe we do something like this. In fact, I'll just do it here. Maybe we completed the ABCD, and now we go and we put another 886 in or something, right? It could happen. So, should it complete, then we'll have another, I would not want my short to be restopped and give all that back, right? Which is why it's a very good question that you put in, Ronnie, and that is how I'm going to be tackling this. Chances are I'll probably take profits at least half on Monday now, because here's the thing, right? We've got a nice kind of close, but we're still below some of the diagonals, right? So if we reclaim this, it's just going to be such a quick shot back to the upside, right? Which is why I'm just not going to be messing around here. As soon as I see strength and levels being reclaimed, I'm going to just take profits and I'm going to leave the other half risk-free, right? Does that make sense? Okay, no problem. And it's a good question. I'm glad you put that question in because I might not have checked I might have like just overlooked that daily candle if you hadn't, right? So thank you for putting that question in. So yeah, let's see how that goes on Monday open. But this was, we caught like 200 something percent on this overall on the challenge account, right? Last year. Got the short on this as well. This was just a beautiful play on Lemonade. Show you guys the power of footprint charts, right? Actual data. But anywho, let's switch and let's take a look instead now at some other stocks, some cryptos, right? Some things I'm eyeing for a potential play, and then we'll just take it from there, okay? But right now, I just want to look at things that I'm eyeing for a potential play because there is many things that do look good, right? There's many things that do look good, and I think it's a shame. And I've already mentioned this, right? I've already mentioned that it's a complete shame if anyone is completely sidelined with no exposure, right? And that thesis has been rewarded, obviously, because things have popped off. So what we're going to do is look at, is there any other plays still waiting to be taken advantage of? Is there anything that's perhaps overextended? Is there anything propped up against resistance? Any of that? Let's take a look, right? And let's see what opportunities we can try and manage. Let's calibrate ourselves, rather, for weekly open so that we're not scrambling come next week. Let's see where we stand. So I'll just I'll start with crypto and then I'll move on to stocks because there is a few stocks I want to share with you guys that look amazing, right? And I mentioned them before, but we haven't gone over them in a little while, so I want to just refresh your memory on some of them. But we'll go through some cryptos first, okay? And if you guys have any questions, just put it in chat and then we'll take it from there. So, one moment. Just gotta prop myself up so my laptop can breathe. Okay. Let's go to the crypto side of things. Let's look at what Bitcoin's doing. Showing strength. But is it enough, right? That's the question. Is it enough strength? That's something to watch out for. Okay, like I've always mentioned, you ever reclaim a range, you just got to be wary, right? If you reclaim range lows, you can't be surprised if you do run towards range mid, as long as that range low is support, right? So let's look at Bitcoin first. Let me look at it from this angle here. There. Log, linear, doesn't really matter. Okay, so again, there's a lot of things here, but I'm just going to do them bit by bit. First things first. Here we go. Right, these are all the volume levels that I've already mentioned to you guys that are currently in play. And what I mentioned to you guys last time was I was saying, look, as long as this volume area here, right? And again, there's two lines in each. The blue one is for the hourly. Right, if you take a look, the blue one is for the hourly and the white one is for the 4 hours / daily. Okay. Just to give myself a nice little range. But what we're saying was, here is your value area low. Oh dear, one sec. There is your value area low. As long as that's support, you're going to go to your next set of value area lows, right? One is for the loss impulse, one is for the current macro downtrend impulse. As long as you're above this now, if you're looking at it straight from a volume perspective, right? Purely volume perspective, as long as this zone is support, you cannot be surprised if you go for the point of controls next. And we just straight cannot be surprised if you go for these point of controls and these value area highs next. That's the cluster. If you get above these, your next cluster is all the way at 107. Do I think we get this? Who knows, right? We're just going to play area to area. That's the best way to do it. I'm not going to try and prophesize where we're going to go. There's no point in doing that because that's not actionable, right? But for now, what is actionable is the fact that this zone, as long as it's support, like I've always said, and we mentioned the last few streams as well, as long as this zone is support, this is the area where you scalp long from. If it turns into resistance, that's where you scalp short from, right? Scalp to swing long, scalp to swing short, whatever you want to do, you do it relative to this area. Now, obviously, we have other things, right? I'm going to put down this. The only buy-seller zone that matters currently where we are is this one here, right? And that is, of course, your 2025. And there might be one more if I just quickly take a look. 1 second. Is there any? No, that's not of importance, right? It's just not of importance right now. So for the range we're in, the only buy seller zone that matters is going to be this one right over here from 2025. And we are currently at the mid of the buy seller zone. And also, tiny as it may be, we're looking to get above, right? So again, you throw the volume levels down, you throw the buy seller zone down, you already have a nice little range which you can scalp with. And then ultimately, whoever takes control of this range decides, do you go higher or do you go back lower down towards your 70k levels down over here? Right now it's favoring the bulls because you're above everything, right? But that doesn't mean we can't turn over. For all we know, on something like the 4 hours, this could just be some type of local thing that happens and we could go down. And if that happens, obviously again your short trigger would be somewhere down over here, right? You can try and short the actual like the inverted smiley if you want, but I wouldn't have my full faith in this inverted smiley just because it's not exactly like premium structure here, right? So I wouldn't exactly call this premium structure. So but the main thesis is if this area gets turned into resistance, you're going to go lower. But until then, let's just look at what you've been doing, just chopping sideways, flipping things into resistance, support, until you grind higher. One side takes the lead, right? So we have that, and of course you can make it. Don't forget, always check both linear and log. And if you look at log, it's even nicer, right? Because on log, the whole thing is compressed. On log, that 0.5 changes, right? There's it on linear, there is it on log. There's on linear, there's on log, and on log, you can see it's already support. So the only thing you have is this on linear, and it's on support. It's support on linear as well. So in terms of your high time frame levels, right now as we speak, everything is support. It's not resistance, which would make you think twice about just slamming on some nonsensical short, right? I'm all for like, you know, taking shorts, high RR places, but you gotta look at you gotta try and figure out the quality of the area where you're trying to pull the trigger. And right now, this isn't exactly the best area for you to be looking at it thinking, oh yeah, this is exactly where I'm going to pull that trigger. It's not, right? Right, then we have our 6 month buy seller zones as well, right? Just because I'm trying to put as much data as I can for this area. There is your 6 month from second half of last year, right over here, right? And in terms of that, we're above the low, we're reclaiming the low, so we can't be surprised if we get to the mid next. We've said this. 84022 remains your one target as long as you are above this level. As long as you're above this zone, look how much confidence you have there on log, right? As long as you're above this zone, on linear and log, 84022.51, 84097, that range, right? 84022 to 84097 remains your target. That is going to be your make or break line. If you cannot get above this, then anyone waiting for the primo short up here, in my opinion, gets front ran, and then, you know, I would love it if they just dropped it from there, right? Anyone waiting to short from, you know, 87 and higher just ends up having to chase, which is obviously going to make it harder for them, right? And we know market makers love doing that. But if this gets taken, right, 84022, I think you have a shot of going all the way up to like mid 90s. You take all of this out, 93, somewhere around there, and then maybe like big try for shorts there, weakness, lower high, so on and so forth. Because the thing is, if you now go above this, there isn't much stopping you at all. Like, look to the left, there isn't hardly anything stopping you. Like, look at any meaningful time frame, right? Let's look at the 6 months, let's look at the yearly, let's look at the 4 months, the 3 months. There isn't much stopping you. Right, I would think you go straight to like the 100k levels if you get above this. Which is why if you are now considering that you want prices to go lower, again, you wouldn't want it to just keep rallying here and like take everything from the left out, right? You want the price to mess around, you want, you know, people having to chase, so on and so forth. And then ultimately, off that is when you would want like, you know, to see that buyer absorption, the aggressive LOMs come in and not being rewarded, so on and so forth, to then take this lower. And once again, my trading view is acting up, so just give me 1 second. I need to buy like a laptop stand or something. That might help. Just give me one moment, guys. Yeah. So coming up, that over there 6 month mid. That's what we're watching for. We have our 4 month levels as well, right? Since the 4 month is the last higher time frame close that we've had. So if I turn these off, and then we go to the 4 months, there's this nice little range, the macro read, right? And of course you can do the buy seller zone as well on the 4 months, should you wish. Like you can put a lot of horizontals here, right, to make your life very easy if you're scalping. That would go on the 4 month as well. That would be 4 month. Right, let me just type that in. There. Turn the volume. So these are the 4 month levels you're playing with, right? Just so it's not confusing for you guys. There's the 6 month. There's the yearly. So in terms of like, areas where you're going to go to, you have a lot of areas to work around here. You just wait for price action to come in once each key level gets ticked off on the screen. And last but not least, that's the weekly fair value gap that we checked it off of. Now, if I get rid of the brush, right, I'll turn the volume levels back on. Looks like a mess. That's fine. You're not looking at this on the weekly, right? If you have this many levels, it's purely because you're trying to play the range. And if you look at that, that's much nicer. As long as you're above this, look, you can't be surprised if you go towards 84 next week. You just can't. There's that one, like, lower / low medium time frame resistance level to contend with, and that's it. You get above that, I think you shoot towards 84. And then that's where the real, let's see what happens, sort of comes in. Or you go and lose this level, that's what you're after. But all in all, Bitcoin looks fantastic, right? This is strength. I don't think the move to the upside is done yet. So let's see what kind of liquidity we end up grabbing here. 84k, above that, like this entire cluster in terms of volume, so on and so forth, everything's there, right? And again, don't forget, there's your range. If you within range, if you accept range low, you can't be surprised if you go towards range mid next, and the range mid is around the 89k level, right? Mid 89k's level. Now, last but not least, we do have this harmonic XABCD, right? That D is going to take us all the way up towards that 886, right? That B has flipped to support, if you can take a look to the right. So technically, like a BAM could be in progress, a Bats Action Magnetic move. And it doesn't matter where we go, right? For example, we could go and reject that 382 area, right? We could go straight to that 6 month level we're talking about, that 4 month area we're talking about. And let's say we go to that 6 month, we rate a bit, hit that 382, like chop around, and ultimately, like, we top somewhere around there. Then that would give us that very extreme target to the downside. But again, that hasn't happened yet. It's just an idea, right? Or we know we might go to a 0.5 or a 618. Who knows? We'll just have to see. So these are just ideas, right? The ABCD is just an idea. The more likely thing is that D. If a wave structure is going to complete, it's most likely going to be that D point there. Again, that lines up with whether you're looking at it in terms of volume, whether you're looking at it in terms of, key levels, right? Horizontals. There's a reason why it could go there. Okay, so that's a deeper dive into Bitcoin. Basically, as long as we're above this area, you're looking towards that 84,097 to 84,022 level, right? Above that, there's your clusters. But yeah, premature shorts will be painful, and people forced to close their shorts are just going to drive the price higher. It's just a mechanic, right? It's just mechanic in the market. Right, so that's Bitcoin. Let's move on. Let's take a look at ETH. Right, last week it was week. What about this week? Nice move up on the hourly, but again, we just bounced off a mid, right? Pivotal area. It's just, again, same thing. You go to the yearly. There's a buy seller zone, right? It's the mid of that buy seller zone. So you tap the mid, there's your entry for a long, as long as you're above, right? This is very simple stuff. So you'll be aiming 2445 again. That's the level we need to actually like base above. We keep rejecting from there for now. So let's see what happens. Because if ETH does get that traction and we do start, coming up, I think obviously other alts will follow, right? That correlation is still there. So let's just see what kind of strength we get. But don't forget, ETH has completed a macro wave structure. I feel like many people are forgetting this. We have a 886 completion. Yes, that, the BD leg is a bit deep, but your main important thing is that 86 has been completed and then you based around it, right? You put in structure telling you that buyers have been interested in this. So now, as long as you're above the mid of that yearly range we've been in, you would try, like, you guys know how these horizontals work, right? As long as the mid is support, you look for the highs. If the high is resistance, look to go back towards the mid, etc., etc. Once again, my trading view is acting up. One moment. Oh my god, this one. Yeah, but your next target is 2445 on ETH. Your T1's at 2,900 or something. Like, all of that becomes targets. And again, we can put volume levels on this, but I'll do that privately, right, for you guys on a private stream. So let's forget about that for now. So a few of the cryptos I've been watching. Let's go over these next. Right, we looked at Bitcoin, we looked at Ethereum. What is looking decent? And it's all here. So number one, I've talked about this a lot. Aptos. Like I've always said, as long as you are above. One sec. In fact, just look at it from here. As long as you are above the exchange listing low on Aptos, and Mexi is the lowest one I can find, you'll be trying for a play. Right there. There was your last flip. So there was your last entry on Aptos. It's currently up 17% from there. It's the exact same thesis we've talked about all of this time, right? You just wait until the condition that you're looking for your entry is met. It wasn't met this entire time over here, right? Like, it was met over here, breakout, successful retest. But even if you'd entered the trade there, right, when you opened here, your invalidation would be if you close back below your exchange listing low, and you would have just got out there, right? Same thing over here. But then eventually, that's why you have rule-based trading, right? Because eventually, as long as you stick to your rules and your parameters, you would hope it works out. And you enter here, and next thing you know, it doesn't go under, and any tie L's you took trying to take the play here, you make that back and way more, right? Or when the actual move finally happens. And it's not like it's too late for things like this, but obviously, like, it's not the optimum entry. You would just wait for, like, now clear. So here's your range, right? There's your range on Aptos. If you get a pullback to flip those highs into support or anything like this, you take it. Like, I would want either a dive into the mid, right? If you take a look at the daily, there was your daily buy seller zone, and I was hoping we get a pullback towards the mid 105, right? That'd be a nice entry. We haven't for now. We just bounced off the actual body itself, but it's either the actual top of the range itself or towards that mid would be the areas you look for to try and fire off some longs. And if you get below the mid of the range, like, you look for lows. If you lose the top, into resistance. You can try for a head short into this range, right? Or just don't do anything until your entry trigger is met. You don't have to short something that's already done at such lows. These are purely scalps. But just understand, on the grand scheme of things, above the exchange listing low, Aptos does have life in it, and that sign of life is already showing itself in the form of these moves up, right? Next is SWE up 25% today, right? Insane move. And again, it's the same area we've talked about all of this time, right? Exact same area that we've talked about all of this time. What is it? Number one, it is the impulse point of control from your last low to your last like range low to range high, right? And I mean impulse low to impulse high is the point of control. It's the one thing we've always talked about, this being important support. Number two, not only is it that, it is also if I just do this real quick, and there you go, a harmonic, right? We know it's a harmonic too. The 618 1.618 is all here. We have a completed crab, and in fact, so you have a volume point of control from a very important range, and on top of that you also have a completed harmonic. Like this harmonic was, you know, we pointed this out when it was done back last year. We're just watching that correlation and the accumulation come in at the harmonic, right? So we've got all of these important things lining up, and then after that, this. You spent ages ranging, right? Range, and then you finally broke out of the set range. Look, resistance, inverted smiley, and then you flipped it into support right over here. That is what gave that move up on SWE that we're seeing today. There. The levels haven't changed. They're the exact same levels, right? It's the 2025 mid, right? It's the same harmonic completion. And if you look at log, extra confluence, there. The 2023-2024 2-month buy seller zone mid was flipped very cleanly into support along with that 1.618 of the crab right over here. And this is why I always tell you guys, cycle between both linear and log, because you will catch something. You increase your chances of missing something, right? On linear, you had that zone, right? Your 2023 is all the way up over here at 1.23, but on log, it's down over here. And that was flipped into support. And again, anytime a horizontal is support, you try for that scalp to swing long. It's just what it is. Resistance being flipped to support, you try for that scalp to swing long, right? And now you're targeting 140, and you just wouldn't enter here because you're now straight back into resistance, right? Like you missed that impulse, now you would wait for structure to come in. You don't try to jump into this over here unless you're willing to back hold down another, like, you know, 20%, and then you get what I'm trying to say, right? You just don't have the optimum risk management anymore. But SWE, nice move up. And again, it's not too late. On the grand scheme of things, it's not too late for all of these, right? It's like, you know, if he now accepts into this, for example, this is your range above. If he accepts above those range lows, right? Right over here, you can try and play it to the range mid, right? But you would now manage your risk around that. You wouldn't put your stop loss, let's say, below this. And there's a higher chance of just bullshit happening because they can now do something like this and it realistically be fine, right? It's just lower time frame chop. But they've got the room to do that, right? That's the problem. So how would I play this now? It's like if you've got one line in the standard, like let's say 123.13, right? On linear. If that's lost, you look for a retest of this. Like you only have lower time frame entries for now, right? There's your weekly buy seller zone, you know, $1.10, let's say. If you lose 123, around $1.10 is where I look for an entry. Otherwise, like, you know, there's no guarantee this is now going to stop here. It might just go flip 140. If that happens, it's a ride towards 167 straight away. Where's the harmonic target? That's something I need to take a look at. Just 1 second. Another thing to note, of course, is your diagonals. Right? It is your diagonals. So if we take a look on this, right, there's your phase resistance fan. There's your pitch fan. You are now approaching heavy resistance, right? There's intersections here. It is definitely resistance out of this quadrant. And if I switch to log, on log you have room for higher, right? But on linear, you're approaching. On linear, you have room for higher as well. It's not like you don't, but you're approaching that very, very heavy resistance. That's the key thing. On diagonal. I was looking at this here earlier because I think there was like a lower time frame. Yeah. Here. There was this on the 3 minutes that was acting as resistance, and then it flipped to support, and that is what just sent this absolutely flying. And I did just look at it, right? People will be chasing this, but this is just not areas where you have any. If you enter here and it works in your way, well done, right? But you literally just flipped. You flipped a coin, and then it just worked in your favor. That's it. Risk management is now out the window. And this was legit. Like I was gonna go over that earlier. That 3 minute zone. It's gonna go in that stream earlier. I don't think anyone was free earlier, which is why this stream's a bit later today. But a good move, right? Good move. Confirmation of that low being support. But it's, again, I know there's gonna be FOMO, right? There's gonna be FOMO, but don't be, because realistically, like you're gonna get other chances to enter, right? You typically, like 95 to 99% of the time, you always get another chance to enter. It's not gonna be the exact same low, right? Let's say the low is in. It's not gonna be. It might not be the exact same low, but you get some sort of 4-hour M shape, or you get something that gives you structure confirmation of a higher low, anything like this. If you see that, then you just capitalize on that, right? On the grand scheme of things, this is nothing. So if I was to turn these off. On the grand scheme of things, this is nothing. Just zoom out, right? It's nothing. Like for example, if now this happens and you start flipping this to support like this, like you have another area where you can try and take a risk. Like if you didn't enter here, right? If you didn't enter whatsoever, then there's no point losing your mind over this now, right? Because again, remember guys, that is not how you would literally be a part of the red dot. If you did not enter here and now you're scrambling for entries, you are part of the red dot. When we look at trap traders and we see all those red dots coming in at the lows, you might as well just be one of those people aggressively selling at the lows, right? I know not buying and market selling are two different things, but the psychology is the same. Market sellers are scared it's going to go lower, so they don't pull the trigger, right? They're just getting out at support. And people who don't do anything are also scared it's going to go lower, so they don't pull the trigger. The psychology is the same, right? So just wait for better RR opportunities. The RR opportunity is not there anymore on SWI. It's not. We had a long time here, right? Long time. Same with Ondo, right? Same with Jupe. All deep crabs that we pointed out way in advance, right? Saying, look, if you're going to get spot, these are the areas where you do so. Invalidation is if you just lose these. Simple. So if triggers won't pull there, then just ask yourself, what's the benefit of pulling the trigger here? Because you're pulling the trigger for the wrong reason, right? You're not pulling the trigger because you're at a optimal area where you can manage your risk. You're pulling the trigger simply because you're scared that you're going to miss out on a move. That is FOMO. We don't enter on FOMO. It's as simple as that. But a nice move up on SWI, right? One sec, guys. Let me just... phone's popping off. Let me just check my messages real quick. And I can also start to share some of these. So this is the SWE entry for myself, the swing. There we go. One second, guys. There, right, that's the SWE entry. Just, it's within the PRZ, right? Like I've been saying, if I'm going to take swing entries and spot plays, it's going to be at moments like this where RR is very, very easy to manage. So that's SWE. So TLDR for SWE is on log. This one's not going to change because it's a pinned high, right? So that's 140. It's going to be the same no matter what. So we have that level coming up. If it gets above, like the range mid is where you're going to go for. If you can't get above, then you're looking for a pullback to the 123.13 level, right? The area between that range low to 123.13 level. If that holds a support, you might have a shot up towards the range mid / range highs on SWE. If it rejects and everything decides to die next week, then hopefully we get a move back straight back to the PRZ and more time to accumulate. But we'll see. I don't think that's going to be very likely. But I do remember something like this happening last bear market, where we dropped, had a spike up straight to like fair value gaps, supply zones, and then we dropped over the next 2 days when the new week opened. So maybe we get something similar, right? So that's SWE, right? Which is spacebar Fed. That's the next one. And again, those are going to be confused by this, so we're just going to take it bit by bit. Okay, yeah. Again, this is another one we've been talking about a lot. I did a private stream on some of these, right? Building the charts out from scratch. First things first, 12-month buy seller zones. The main reason for entry was you had an extremely easy, right? Extremely easy area. And I literally gave you this last week, right? This is last week where we talked about the fact that we had a ridiculously easy entry on FET. It was just this here. We had the smiley face, we had that cluster, right? The yearly cluster, 2 highs. It could not have got easier than that to go for an entry on FET. So if you're looking at these, right, and especially if you did put these levels down and you were there for that stream, or you watched the recording back after I recorded it and alerted you guys, and you didn't pull the trigger, then at that stage you know it is not a technical thing that you need to work on. It's a purely psychological thing, right? Because everything about this, and I harped on about this for so long. Even last time we streamed this, we were saying everything about this was lining up for a nice move, right? It was so easy to manage risk. We went over everything on stream. If you saw that and you still weren't confident to pull the trigger, it is a purely psychological, emotional thing. It is no longer a TA thing, right? What you need to learn is not a new system. What you need to learn is not how to find more lines. What you need to learn purely is how can you manage that as a person, as an individual. Because it's not to do with TA anymore. Because if you don't pull the trigger at moments like this, you cannot blame that on TA. Because it wasn't hard to find these lines, right? You guys all know how to find these lines. I did it live on stream. Not just this, we had so much confluence, right? Even in the face of all that, if you then get too scared to pull the trigger, it's not that you're lacking in TA skills. It's purely just that you don't have that emotional / psychological aspect of trading down yet. You're thinking to yourself, well, what if it goes lower? You're too scared to take that risk, right? You've not come to terms with the fact that there is no such thing as a risk-free trade. Because yes, don't take dumbass risks, but like I was saying, here was not a dumb risk. It could not have got better to try and take a risk, in fact, right, on this asset than here. Because if you're wrong below 19 cents. You look at this. Look how easy it is. You're wrong. You lose this cluster, you're wrong. It's whatever defined loss you have, you take it, you cut. It's fine, right? But if you're right, well, you have all of this liquidity as a potential to take. And now it's like if you enter here, you're chilling because you're risk-free. Minimum you do, put your stop loss to break even, forget about it. Or if you enter a scalp to swing, you take some profits, you put the rest to stop loss at slight profits, and then let it run, right? But that's your reward for taking the risk at moments when most people don't want to, because the market's been doing nothing but going down. But the thing is, we identified this as an important pivot. We identified the smiley face that is forming here. We identified the yearly levels it's correlating to on stream live, right? For many coins, not just for Fed, but Fed's just the example we're looking at now. So we had that obviously on Fed as a bear, as the basic of why that was the entry, right? Then what else do we have? Obviously, we talked about how we had a lot of volume ranges for this, right? So here is your volume range you're within. And another thing we talked about was how we were within the macro, like, volume area, right? So an impulse all the way from the past, last bull run impulse, your point of control, and your value area low. In this cluster, again, you smiley faced it. You're above your value area low. Sorry, point of control for that one. So in terms of this, your next target would be very simple. It would simply just be your, if you go to an actual meaningful time frame, to get all of this data collaborated, one sec, or coalesced rather, it is all the way up over here, right? Your next key volume level is all the way up, right over here, 41.22. So 0.4122 would be your next target in terms of volume. As simple as that. If you get above that, you have your macro value area high. If you get above that, you have a point of control from the past again, right? Value area low from there. Value area high, sorry, from there, point of control. So in terms of volume, we just take it level by level, right? If this cluster, that's a target basically, from here to here. And the main thing is it's risk-free, right? The minimum you do here is stop loss to break even, like I'm saying. But not only that, what else did we look at? We looked at the fact that if you look at this on the diagonal log perspective, right? There is your macro channel that you've been within. There, demand, demand, demand. You're back in the same area. Demand. Keep it simple, right? There's your channel high. There's your low. And based on that, that diagonal right over there, you reclaimed. Right there, right? You retested it successfully. Sellers attempted to get below, but you closed above. Beautiful, right? You've broken out from that log breakout there, and you've successfully retested it. So take a look. High, high. There's your breakout. Didn't retest last cycle. And then what you have now, one retest followed by a secondary retest to confirm that the liquidation wick was a successful retest. So if this is it on Fed, as long as we don't break back below this supply line, we're fine. And now you've got this supply line here to contend with, right? So, all of a sudden, like if that's broken out of as well and you remain above these, right? You go and you literally remain above these, then 66 cents comes into talk. 99, right? Then you have all of a sudden like multi-dollar targets, right? It starts off as something small, like brick by brick, layer by layer, and then it goes into something big if the timing is right, right? There's no guarantee the timing is right. We could come back down all the way to 16 cents again. I would not be opposed to that. I would just add more spot if we get down towards 16 cents. Because my thesis is, once again, as long as this demand line is holding, why would I be scared to buy? I'll be scared to buy when it goes up to $2, right? Or if it taps at $6 perhaps this cycle, who knows? I'll be scared to buy there. I'm not going to be scared to buy at 13 cents, bro, right? 19 cents. These are areas where you bid spot. Low leverage swings, right? Nice. Okay, one sec. Let's take a look. Again, we're looking for pullbacks on these. I would advise you not to enter at random areas right after things happen like this. No matter how good it looks, fight the FOMO. Always discipline first. Again, log. If you look at the log fibs now, which are very, very important, what's happening? Right. Obviously, the actual low there was the 0.5, that 0.05 area. Right. That's fine. That's not what we're interested in. We're interested in again this level here. Not only was it the 12-month buy sellers on highs, right? It was also, we had log fib correlation. If you take a look right here, That's some really nice log Phipps correlation. Right? One sec, I'm interested in this. What else did we have? We had the high from the past, right? All of these, there's that private stream for you guys. Just go and check it out. Like if you're wondering where all these levels come from, I'll try and find them all for you. That 4-month seller zone from the past, 2020. You know, we retested that. We talked about that one. We talked about how we also retested the mid on log, right? 0.5. Very, very pivotal. If this is a range, the mid is held. If the mid holds, we can't be surprised if we go back to range highs, right? That's something we always talk about as well. And of course, we have the 2 trend basic extensions, right? If you're going to scalp, you can just use these on the lower time frame. You can throw the Fib retracements down as well, but above this, you know, your next targets would be towards 27 cents, 29, 30, 35, 36. We just step laddering up, right, on the lower time frame. If you get back below this, then you can talk about 21 cents again. But as long as we're above this, you're looking for further continuation to the upside. And now we mention, of course, the diagonal. So first things first, if you take a look at the fib speed resistance fan, or the 2 macro fib speed resistance fans that we have, there's a long way to go to your last uptrending one, which is, you know, there's an intersection for 57 cents by basically the end of May, right? So if, you know, it's a target, right? There's an intersection all the way for 57 cents by like basically towards the end of May. So let's see. I don't know if we get it, but it'd be sick if we did, right? Get the intersection. And on log, we're now breaching into this region. We know it's been resistance once. We need to break it, which is why I'm not too excited. I'm also saying to you guys, don't macro like bid all the way straight into resistance, right? Because now, obviously, what we need to do is we need to break out of this. Because remember, this fan was completed from that high to that low, right? Once that fan is complete, what have we had? We've only had the fact that this has been resistance, and now we're retesting the area. We need to break above. If you want your next expansive move to the upside, we need this to be support. Until then, we could hit this, confirm it to be resistance again, and then once again, like, you know, come back down again, right? Maybe 18 cents, maybe visit like 15 again, who knows, right? But that needs to now be support. We need to break above. And if we are truly bullish, moments like this is where we want to see expansive, just fuck you candles coming in to basically just take us straight out of this and close above, right? If that happens, we know the momentum is strong. If it doesn't, and you just start going sideways here for a bit, that means we're in for a choppy market for a little while. And last but not least, we also have the pitch fan, right? You're coming straight up towards the 0. Basically the in this case the front run of the range extreme, right? So we on linear, we need to get above that if you want to continue up towards 37 cents and higher. So let's see how we react when we get there. We haven't even touched it yet, but on log, we're above the log levels we need to be above in diagonal. So, you know, you're looking for the front run of the golden pocket, right? 27 cents. If you get past that, then we can talk about the 37 cents target again. And in terms of your footprint charts, your yearly point of control for 2023 was at 22.88. That got flipped into support right here, right? In fact, like yesterday / earlier today, when today rolled over, 2023 yearly point of control from footprint charts got flipped to support. And now you're looking for 2025, right? Which is, and then if you get above 2025, 2021. If you get above that, you have nothing from point of controls all the way up until like 129. But obviously, like, you know, that becomes a future target, right? For now, this is the range. In terms of volume, this is the range you can find within. Until true volume and momentum comes in, like, you know, you can go here, but then you can just sell off straight from like 28 cents and go back down again, right? That's why I'm saying don't ape. Like, find areas like this, right? Where you can easily, you know, it's a significant level, you can manage risk around it, and then you watch price action around it. You see this, it would take a bid. That's a yearly point of control. Just don't do it in the middle of nowhere. That's what I mean. It doesn't matter if you miss the bottom, because I've taught you guys everything you need to know, right? On how to trade, how to find significant levels. But you guys should be understanding now how to analyze price action, whether that's through aggressive buying and selling, trap traders, right? All the materials there for you guys. It's just execution, right? Execution is the one bit no one can help you with, because there is no manual for how to handle your fear, how to handle your let's say uncertainty, right? That just comes through repetition. That comes through, yes, there's ways you can do it. You can reduce your position size if you're scared. You know, you can, there's tricks you can help yourself with. If it goes against you, just cut straight away. There's many things you can do, but it's up to you guys ultimately to employ those tactics. If you find yourself, because you're all clever in the server, right? No one should be still be stuck on how to get significant levels. Like, everyone should have that. You should be able to do that with your eyes closed and your hands tied behind your back, right? But yeah, that's fair. Like on linear, I'm pretty sure you've broken out of everything. Like this, right? There's your high. One sec, let me just make sure I'm not chatting shit when I say that. So from that high, we've broken out of this one yet? Yeah, you've broken out of this too, right? So it just looks good, right? So that's fair. All coins with opportunities, and this is also what I told you guys. Just focus on a few coins. Just focus on a select few coins, right? That's why our watch list has always been so small and focused, right? Ton, Sui, Fet, Tau, right? Sol, very, very small, right? I don't give you guys like a million different coins and a million different entries, because what's the point in opening like 100 different positions? That's just a waste of time and energy, in my opinion. Just focus on a few coins and size the hell up. That's how you make money. There's no need to be in a million different positions, right? There's no benefit in doing that. Literally zero. So that's Fed, right? Let's look at Ton next. Another one that did an insane move. Again, what did we have for Ton? Let me see. We have a... This is not the right one. No, it's this. Yes, I know why. It's because... I've got these here. Okay, so for Ton, the first things first, there was the bat, right? We've hit the front run of the bat, which is why we reacted the way we did, right? But the actual T1 itself has not been hit, right? Now, this might give us a type 2 return if we're lucky, but if not, then it's up to us to figure out where do we pull the trigger, and that's what I'm here to help you guys figure out. So, first and foremost, if you look at the 12-month buy seller zones, there's a lot on this one. I've marked out all of them, right? Which is why there's a lot. But again, that's because once you actually zoom in to an executionable time frame, there's loads of space there, right? So right now, in terms of yearlies, this cluster is what I'm interested in down over here. 232.65 to 227.77. Because that would act as a rate of this low, but it also wouldn't take us too deep, right? And also because that falls within that linear. Like if that's lost, then yeah, you could just go to your next ones. Ultimately, like we don't know which level they're going to correlate it to. If they're going to hit one, if they're going to front run one. It's up to us to have the levels down and then analyze as it comes in, right? Like if this raids and reclaims, we take a shot. If it raids, turns into resistance, we don't take a shot. We wait until it reclaims or it goes lower, so on and so forth, right? But in terms of yearlies, like, they're there. Just mark them out yourselves in your chart. But more than that, we also have the 4-month, right? The last 4-month close, the seller zone is all the way through there. So if we get a deeper pullback and we do get a sell-off going into next week, somewhere within this would be the ideal entry for me. 194 to 180. To try and take that scalp to swing long. Right? But like I said, on the macro, we have the M-shaped completion. We've got the bat, right? We've got the bat. Nice reaction off it for your type 1. And again, we have diagonals. So in terms of the diagonals, we've got the pitch fan, and for now this is on linear. right? You're correlating to the golden pocket of the pitch fan if you switch to log. Your golden pocket's below, you've already exceeded it, correlating to whatever level that is, right? Just know it's a level. Obviously, you guys know my fibs are significant. So it doesn't really matter where we are. Just more so what kind of price action are we getting at that area. And the 50 resistance fan. So on linear, what we're doing, we've hit the 0.5 and we rejected. Remember what I told you guys last time, right? This is the quadrant we're going to be within. Right? If you get above this, that's the quadrant we're in. We've hit the high of that quadrant, right? So this right here is your line, right? That's been support in the past, is now turning back into support again. As long as you're above that, you can look for scalps to the upside. But if this is lost, this right here is where you're going to be going towards. That is the level you want holding. Because look, it was support, it was resistance. So you want that to be support again. Right? The area between 214 to like 193, 194-ish. You want that deep retracement to be support. But on log, you're maintaining, right? There's your golden pocket on the move down, right? From that low. You've broken above, you hit the liquidity rate. You just about front ran the deep retracement of the uptrending one. So if we're lucky, this is going to be a range. Here's one range. If that's lost, this will be a range. If that's lost, this will be a range, right? We've got 3 different ranges. So with that regard, right? With that regard, you could argue that this right here is our range low. So we've seen that. So if you zoom in, the diagonal will act as a horizontal, right? As long as the golden pocket is support, you're not going to be blindly swing shorting this or anything like this, right? Or scalp shorting. You do so at resistance areas like this here, for example. You don't do it here. Pitch fan macro. So if this is lost, your next hope is here, right? Let's just look for intersections. It's around that 277 level. If that is lost, it's around the 218 level. If that is lost, it's around the 208 level for now. On the lower time frame, those are the targets you're aiming towards, right? If we can't do this. If you can do that, you stay above this zone, you can expand higher. You need to get above 253. If you get above 253, you fly towards 277 in my opinion. I don't think you stop here. Because momentum would be on your side, right? So you'd be looking for that breakout. But I am highly interested in this asset here, right? It's been one of our potential spot plays for ages. I'm extremely interested in the long opportunity on this. Now, one way to look at this is to just do it on the higher time frame. If we look at it on the monthly, screw any of the lower time frame noise. There's the 4 month, which is the last close. So what about the yearly, right? Let's do this. Nothing on the yearly, nothing on the 6 month. And in fact, no, one could argue you can just do that on the 6 month there. So that there's an important low right there, 235.75, right? That's going to be a 6 month. And then let's take it to the 4. And on the 4, I'm going to make this yellow. You have this area. So you know now your macro diagonal perspective, but to keep it simple in terms of horizontals, as long as this is support, you execute because you're flipping your last high time frame close, which is the 4 month. The bearish fair value gap of that is being flipped into support as we speak. Right? So as long as that zone remains support, you look for continuation move to the upside. Like your long would be as simple as this. Now, depending on how tight you want your stop, you can put it below this wick here for 4.6%, or like a 7% here if you want to try and swing it a bit wider, right towards, let's say 374 if you want to swing that. But if you want like to scalp to swing this and you want the lower time frame entry, the closer you enter to this, the better, obviously. But basically, any entry you take here, the easy invalidation would be, right? Any entry you take, the easy invalidation is if 235 is lost to get out because you have a chance to get in at 237. So that is ton, right? They all look fantastic. And again, it's like, you know, all of these were pointed out to you guys in YouTube, in the server, wherever you may have seen this in advance, right? We looked at the M-shaped completions. We looked at how the correlation was coming in regarding those M-shaped completions. And like I was saying in the past, I was saying you can't be surprised if you get like, moves off these levels. Like we can't be surprised that we have now got moves off them. Like we had M-shaped completions across the board, right? Fed, we looked away in advance. Like I said, SWE, we looked away in advance. Jupe, here's another example, right? If you go and take a look at Jupe. If you go and take a look at Jupe, exact same as Ondo, exact same as SWE, right? What did we have? The only difference is SWE and Ondo had a crab. It didn't have a deep crab. The only difference is Jupe had a deep crab. 886 down to the 1 point, but exact same thing. PRZ was held. The yearly levels were respected. Trendline breakout and boom. And now you've taken out the highs. Like we were saying, look, if this holds, you're looking to take a run on all of these wicks, right? Anyone shorting here gets stopped out. Maybe feel that inefficiency, the fair value gap. That would take it right into your previous consolidation range. And whether you accept above it or below it, that's for us to decide in the future. But the actual entry, again, this was talked about a lot, right? We were saying, look, deep crab. So for many of these, you just wouldn't enter here, and hopefully you guys can see why, right? I know there's going to be FOMO if you didn't if you didn't take the plays down here. Like, okay, you didn't take the play at the 1.618, whatever. But then, yearly levels start getting flipped, right? And then inefficiencies start getting, supply zones start getting flipped into support. Like, if you don't take opportunities in moments like that as well for a tight RR trade, you have no business trying to enter trades here. You just don't. You're entering for the wrong reasons, right? That's the point. So now we're approaching on linear rather, you're approaching the supply line, right? So again, you're going to get a good opportunity on these. I promise you're going to get good entries on these again. It might not be now, it might not be next week, but you'll get good entries on them again. I don't care if it's higher. Good entries isn't about where you bought, it's about how easy was it to manage your risk at where you bought, right? So you will get good opportunities again. Hopefully this convinces you, because look, your macro supply lines, I don't expect them to just break out and just go, right? If they do, damn, that's just unlucky, right? But I don't expect them to. So let's see what kind of structure we end up building. Let's see what we end up seeing. Don't FOMO, right? If you see tight RR short opportunities once these highs get raided, which they have, and you see resistance being conformed to, you got those short opportunities, right? It is the exact same thing, right? People will be scared to long down here. People will be scared to short down here, because what if it goes lower? Exact same thing. What if it goes higher? Will be the mindset. You can't think like that. You just got to have a rule-based execution. You can't think, what if it goes against me? If it does, that's what your predetermined invalidation is for, right? Like I said, there is no such thing as a risk-free trade. We all know this. We're not rookies. But Jupe, again, very, very nice move on Jupe, right? Very nice move on Tau. Very nice move on FET. All of these. Oh my god, one sec, guys. Just give me one moment. Let me just got some messages I got to reply to. Just one moment. Sorry, guys. Also, this right here is the Jupe entry. Again, analysis is pointless without execution, right? We all know this, so I'm just going to be all based around the exact same sort of levels we look at normally, right? There's no rocket science to this. You do your TA and you take a risk at moments where it makes sense to do so. So that right there is the Jupe entry. Oh my god, one sec, guys. I'm waiting here. Let me check back to the chat as well real quick. 1 second. So I've got some questions. Full porting. like for spot, it's you know, it's if you do like a buy over time campaign, it's fine, right? But for leverage, I wouldn't recommend just blindly longing here, brother. No, for sure, bro. I would love it if BTC gave another leg to the downside, right? In fact, I actively pray that we flush those lows that we put in. People think the low is already in. I would love for a like weekly bullish divergence where we flush the lows, maybe tap 58, 57. So hang on, let's quickly go back to the macro Bitcoin chart, right? Because you guys know in terms of wave structure, all the areas we're interested in, right? So if you take a look at all the areas we're interested in terms of wave structure, let's turn these off for now for the lower time frame. Like there's this, right? There's the deep crab, which I don't think is going to happen, but we'll pay attention nonetheless, right? Like 27k, 35k. I'd love it if we got it, because you know, imagine being able to load up that cheap, but do they give it to us? Is the question. So we have the Gartley, which is the only thing we've completed so far is the Gartley. Remember the 786. In fact, again in crypto chat, I gave you guys the alert saying, look, as long as the 786 is support, you are going to long. You're not going to be shorting this, right? And that's served us very, very well, right? Because anytime this has been supported, we've taken a long. Look, you've now hit the 3-4. All you need to hit is the 3-2, and you've literally hit T1. But again, the deep Gartley 886 is at 57, right? The 2.61 is at 52. We haven't hit those yet. The only thing we've completed is the 786 Gartley. We have the shark, right? Which is that shark there. Which also lines up with the deep crab. So that I just really like that 43k in terms of wave structure confluence. Doesn't mean we need to get it though, right? There's the macro shark, which will take us lower, obviously, around the 886. And then there's the ABCDs, right? So far, again, we haven't even hit the ABCD 2.24. It was a front run. So at a minimum, I would love, even if they don't give us 53, 52, even if they don't give us any of this, right? Because again, wave structures aren't complete until they've been hit. So in terms of completion, the only thing that's been hit is the Gartley. The only wave structure we have and we can go off is that Gartley 786, right? I would love for that 380 to hit. Again, if your trend is strong, your shallow retracements where people step in, or love for sellers to step in there, give us another lower high, or maybe even a bit higher towards the 90k areas we were talking about, come down, do something like this, and then go rate that low, right? Give us the 2.24 minimum. Just give us a tap. No front run, no bullshit like this. Just go, rate it, tap, right? Even if they did not give us any of this, I would not care. If we had weekly bullish divergence going into this, if we got a cumulative structure on the medium to lower time frame at those lows, and even on the structure, right, we started doing like going up, taking out the last lower high, that led to lower low on something like the daily, the 4 hours. If those came in, I would be so happy. Like I don't care if we don't get 40k, 30k, 20k, right? But a flush of these lows is what I would love. Now, we might not get the flush. Even if we don't get the flush, I would love for us to come up. Like, at least some of these wicks get taken out, right? Like a higher low comes in, we get another M-shaped completion, like locally speaking, down over there, maybe like a bat or a deep Gartley from the local wave structure, and that gets completed. I would take a shot there, right? The thing is, when you're at these areas, like the 786, right? When I gave that warning saying, look, as long as you're above this, you're going to be long. That's where you, on a technical level, also on a risk management level, you have it very, very easy. You have it hard because no one wants to buy when things are down. There's no bullish sentiment on the timeline. Nothing like that's happening. But it's like we were pointing about, because while this was happening, like we saw, Sweep was at a crab completion. Ondo was at a crab completion, right? Deep crab completion. FET was at those lows we were talking about, right? So if you're wrong, it's a question of if, because there's no guarantees you're going to be right, but there's also no guarantees you're going to be wrong, right? But the main thing is, are you at areas where you can mitigate any risk to yourself? And when you were here and those alts were there, right? If you're wrong, you're going to know straight away, right? Because if, for example, you turn that 786 to resistance, just get out, because you might then actually go and hit that before you go higher. And in that case, just de-risk on your alts at the same time. And this is also why I'm a big, like I keep saying, don't be in 20 different coins, because trying to manage all of them is going to be difficult. Just a few. Right? But if you're right, and this goes up, and like I said, ETH was at the 886 completion at the same time as well, right? The completed bat. Everything else will go with it. So it's not a matter of what if we drop under the 60%. It's a matter of like, well, if it happens, then you take the necessary steps to mitigate your risk, right? Because again, there is no such thing as a risk-free trade. But the thing is now, I can't recommend buying alts when Bitcoin sat at 382. Because I don't know if the alt rotation is going to happen now. I don't know if it's going to happen properly anyway. I don't know if it's going to happen like next year, later on this year, quarter 3, quarter 4. I can't tell you that, right? I can only tell you where you can manage your risk and where the key levels are. So this might, for as far as we know, this might be it for alts. They might get these 20-30% pumps and they might just bleed out again over the next few weeks. We might once again enter like a downtrending market and then bottom out in October like most people think we're going to be doing, right? That might just come to happen. Or for all we know, this could be the bottom. Like we don't know, right? We don't know where the exact bottom is going to be. We don't know where the exact top is going to be. I give you guys the areas and then I give you guys, okay, what's hit? Like we've always said, the only thing that's actually hit is the Gartley. These are all wave structures that can work. But at the end of the day, the 786 is support. We're just not going to get that, right? So now that we're a resistance, like if you're also pumped and, they're side of resistance and BTC side of resistance, this would be the moments where you like de-risk some, right? On your leverage bags. Like if you don't want to take profit on your spot bag because you're holding it for the long time frame, whatever, at least put your stop loss to break even. But for your leverage bags, you would take some profits here. Because there's no guarantees we, go to like 100, 103. There's just none. We can only react to areas on the charts based on current price action. Right? So it's not that I'm not scared. Obviously, there's always going to be that feeling on the back of your head, like, obviously, if this doesn't hold, there's going to be a bit of loss. It's more so that, you accept, right, that no matter where you are in the market, there's going to be a risk associated with your entry. But in terms of longs, it's the least risky to long at these deep 886s. We know this. Like we've done so many case studies on this. You look at any cycle from the past, anything like this is just a known thing, right? The least risky area to long is going to be at your 786s and your 886s. The least risky areas to short are going to be once these big moves come up, but these are also going to be the scariest areas to long. It's going to be down here. Scariest area to short is going to be up here, right? And these are just, again, this boils down to not TA, right? This just boils down to sort of the psychological side of trading, right? We take a look, some more. Let's take a look, right? One sec. At the time we look to dupe, right? Let's take a look at Link. Nice little move. Previous consolidation range mid got tap, got a nice move. But you could just zoom out, guys. If you guys have been getting FOMO, just zoom out. Realistically, like some things have doubled, but still, just because something's doubled doesn't mean it's had an immense move, right? It's only doubled because it was dirt cheap. Look where Links is, for example. Like on a grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter whether you bought a $7 or $10. If you were to buy spot right now, you were to hold it, and then in the next 2 years, this thing runs up to 42. You are not going to care that you didn't buy a 7. Perspective is everything, right? What time frame are you trading is the most important thing. If you are someone who primarily relies on volatility and like intraday money, obviously this is going to hurt because you missed a nice chunk of a move, right? But if you're someone who relies mainly on big spot bags, like you're chilling, it doesn't matter. You have loads of, you can literally buy a little bit now if you're feeling FOMO and just have a macro invalidation, right? But just buy over time. On the large scheme of things, like nothing meaningful has happened. It only looks momentous because we're so deprived of volatility that these crazy candles are coming in, right? So when we zoom in, yeah, it's like it's substantial moves. But again, no matter what, look, zoom out on Fed. Even how substantial did it look when I zoomed in? Now that I'm zoomed out, does it look like it was a substantial move? No, you are not late to the party. It's perspective. On the 3 minutes, yes, you're late to the long, right? On the 15 or intraday, yes, you're late to the long. But real money's not made there anyway. It's made in positioning for the larger moves, right? So like I said, don't get it twisted. It's not like you missed anything crazy. Ton looks a bit, because obviously Ton doesn't have that much of a history, right? So Ton looks a bit more painful. But again, you get better entries, right? You get structure forming. You get more completed M shapes. Like it always happens. It looks like it won't, and it always does. Tau was another great addition, right? This one, again, live stream trade. It's on YouTube. It's on private streams, on everything. Just literally the yearly buyer seller zones, right? If I go to Tau over here. Where's it gone? Right, with just these buyer seller zones here, right? You put the 2025 and the macro read on. You had a very nice buyer zone here to take the bid on for Tau. I know a lot of people took Tau, which I'm happy with, because at least like some play was taken, right? Even if not everything was taken, it's the even if just one play was taken, if it was money, it's money. You know what I mean? But the Tau entry is this one. Can I actually share executions because TA without execution is just scribbling lines on a screen, right? Execution is the important thing. So this is Tau. So there's Tau. And I will share the results of like all the different entries that we have got. I will share the results of those. Another one I want to go over, of course, is this one we talked about for a long time, right? Which is Akash network, because CRO, yeah, we'll look at CRO, bro. Just give me a moment. I want to go over the main list first. So that's Tau. Akash network was the other one, right? It's down here. We talked about this for a long time, because this one was one of the ones that was absolutely bottomed out, right? This one was just bottomed out. Completed shark, right, M shape, and then diagonals hit. There was a lot going for this one, right? I'm not going to go through every one in depth. I don't want the stream to be too long, right? We've done it all in the past, but now this is again, I can't recommend you buying here, right? 1.618's been tagged. You're on log, you're at the actual T1, right? On linear, yes, you got a bit higher to go, but on log, you don't have that much of a move left anymore. Right, so these are resistances where you would expect a pullback 100% coming in the future, unless it got flipped. So I can't recommend you getting into these in these areas, but the entry was there nonetheless. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like everything's just around this, tiny little area we're looking at, right? We mentioned, okay, look, there's the last level high, last level low got taken out, a high low's coming in. We drew the local intersections here as well. It's just a matter of execution and time. Execution and time always gets people. Because again, I will repeat, no matter whether you follow my system, which obviously most people here will do, that's where you come to me to learn, right? Because I have my own system in the market that I've created, and you guys were interested in learning it, and so that's what we've done in this group. Or you follow someone else's system. You could just do basic support resistance, right? You could do, maybe you're a exponential trader, or you're a liquidity trader, or you're someone that does ICT. Doesn't matter, right? Realistically, we're going to end up with similar levels, right? Similar lines, because there's only so many ways you can look at the same thing, right? The hard part's going to be if all of us have the same lines, then why aren't all of us making money? And it comes down to execution, and it comes down to just the psychological side of trading. That's what will set someone apart. And number one of that is just coming to terms with the fact that you gotta be. It sounds easy to say, but you gotta be completely just nonchalant about losing. The day you come to accept that you are going to lose is the day you will win more. As backwards as it sounds, it just is. Because that fear is the number one thing holding you back from actually pulling the trigger. And that fear is going to hold you back from pulling the trigger where it doesn't matter, right? That's fine. But, if you're trying to enter areas where it isn't like significant, so on and so forth, your TAs are going to tell you. But if TA is now lining up and you've got all these areas, confluences lining up, and, trend shifts are happening and you still don't pull the trigger, that is no longer a TA thing. That is purely just a psychological thing, right? That cannot be taught. Because I can tell you guys, like I've been doing, right? I can go on live, I can do all the charting for you, I can tell you guys, I can give you a list, same list we look at every week, I'd be like, guys, these are the coins that look good. These are the M shapes. You know, these are the areas where you would bid over time, whether you do 20, 40, 40, or whether you do it level by level, scalp to swing. We've been talking about this for a long time. Ever since volatility died, we've been at these lows, right? It'd be one thing if I hadn't come online and I hadn't done these streams and told you guys, like, okay, these are the invalidations, but as long as you're above this level, you would play this long, right? If I hadn't said that and all of a sudden I come in today because everything's pumping, I'm like, oh, guys, look, you should have bought, that'd be one thing. But every time I've streamed, every week, I've come on and I've said, guys, look, these are the key areas, right? As long as you're above this, you're going to try for this area to the upside. If you get below this, just cut. Entries and invalidations all have been given. I cannot do more than that. I give you guys the levels, I give you guys the entry trigger, the invalidation trigger, everything, right? Pulling the trigger then comes up to you. Whether you're watching this on YouTube, whether you're watching this on the stream. One thing I cannot do is, you know, teleport my hand to the screen and hit the buy button or the sell button. That is the one thing that has to be unique to you. Because if not, then, you know, no trade is going to be successful. You can't hold a trade through someone else's conviction, right? It has to be your own conviction. But Cash is another one. Let's just spacebar real quick. We have a few other ones. So we looked at Jude. Link was a good one. Let me just check. We look at Crow as well. Eddie Crow, bro. One sec. Link was a good areas. H-bar, right? Some things haven't really popped, right? So for example, here's an opportunity, right? If H-bar look flips 2023 high, you're looking for the lower time frame, right? This is now for my scalpers, right? For my scalper swingers. If this flips into support, you have an easy area to long. If it doesn't, right? And you do this and you come back and you still SFP, you see aggressive longs being trapped, you have an easy area to short. I can tell you guys that, right? But once you get it's up to you to now go set your alerts up, right? Mark up that 2023 high, set your alerts up, and watch the price action around that level. Would you long this? No, you wouldn't. Absolutely not. Not this close below resistance and with what is a clear rejection. But if this is the flip, look, there's your entry trigger for H-bar. And your invalidation is simply, if you lose it and you turn it to resistance again, just get out of your long. Just get out of your losers straight away. Don't hold on to them. Don't baby your losers, right? I can tell you guys that, like I have now. But I guarantee, like, even for many people watch this and either they won't set the alert or they'll just be like, oh, like, you know, yeah, I'll look at this again, like in a few days or something. They won't set alerts. And the next thing you know, like the flips happen and it's gone and you miss the entry, right? Or like even if you see it, you might be hesitant to take the trade. The H-bar flip, the 2025 12-month buy zone made into support and it ran to the next yearly level. I would be very hesitant to long randomly here because again, there's a big move that's happened on the lower time frame. A flush is very, very like normal, right? But if this flips, then you have further liquidity to take to the upside. But the problem here now is, obviously you might take this wick, come down, take some late longers out, and then eventually go, right? That's the problem with entering mid-range like this. There's always going to be chop. But H-bar is one that's very close right now to actionable areas, right? Talked about CAST, that one hasn't really moved. Will it move? It might not. Not every coin's guaranteed to catch a liquidity sort of rotation. But again, CAST was another one where we talked about a M-shaped completion, right? And we talked about, where has it gone? I think I must have done it in another, it's not going to be in ticks. It's not going to be in the sections. I mean log. Okay, I think I've got rid of the one sec. Is it in main clean? Is it in? One sec, guys. Is it frozen again? It shouldn't be. This one is that one. So this one might be this one. Let me just check. Because I know I've already done the M shapes in one of the loadouts. I need to figure out which one it is. Definitely not this one. Yeah, definitely not this one. Okay. So This one is what? 4 students, so let's try. I think it might be bunker. I think it might be this one then, one sec. Is the problem with having too many. Hang on, which one did I open? I'm not tripping, I've done this already, I shared it. Just 1 second, guys, let me find it. Because I'm not going putting all those M ships in again. And they are. Okay, so which one could it be then? Maybe. This might be it. There we go, yeah, it's this one. So for no, that's Tau. But for Cass, I'm sure it's in this one. If it's not in this one, then I have no idea where it went. Come now. Surely. There we go, right? Look. For Cass, we've talked about all the M shapes, right? So on the macro, like it's still not, nothing's happened, right? You flip one into support, you have a beautiful entry on Cass to take towards these. So nothing crazy's happened on this one. So I'll leave this one open as well, clean. Yeah, so this is another one to keep in a watch list, right? So Laggard, that flips. Like obviously you're not going to enter here in the middle of now, like resistance, right? Right at resistance. But if that flips, you break above and you do this, you've got a beautiful entry on Cass. Invalidation is simply like, you know, if you go up and you come back down and turn this back into resistance again, that's your invalidation. Just get out. You want to see strength, right? You want to see this. You don't want to deviate and turn this back into resistance and break down. That's not what you want. But yeah, Cass is one that hasn't really moved yet. The C-Pool, right? This one I mentioned, like if you wanted a lottery ticket, you could get into this one, literally at the lows. We looked at Ton, we looked at Tau. Pendle. I really wanted that 886 on Pendle. I don't have a position on this one because I was waiting for that 886. We didn't get it. It's what it is, right? Pendle, I don't have a move on. Like it's what it is. Like I'm not going to get every play. And the main thing is you just deal with it. Just move on. Like whatever. I missed this one. There's opportunity elsewhere, right? And if the 886 hits in the future, I'll be ready. Virtual, another one we talked about for a long time. 886, like same thing. As long as the 886 is support, we look for moves to the upside. It wasn't lost, right? After he reclaimed, it just wasn't lost. It's just like I said, time look. These are weekly candles, right? Overall, you grind it up from the actual entry, right? 52%. But it just, most people, you know, it's go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. They're just getting chopped up. But again, nothing crazy's happened. Like zoom out, take a look. So if you're FOMOing and you're like, oh shit, I missed the entire move, like it's whatever. Okay, it is whatever. The only thing you missed is like an intraday move. I doubt you missed any macro bottoms. And even if you have, like who cares, right? Because you get another entry opportunity. They're not going to be so nice that they just give you one massive low and then they're just going to send it from there. I doubt they'll be that nice. Zcash was a 886 completion. It was a deep Kali, right? If you go to take a look at Zcash here. Zcash. Let's look at it. Oh my god, please. This is pissing me off today. Come on, bro. One sec, guys. Still acting up? Yep. Just give me a moment. Bro. What are you doing? Okay, there we go. Okay, Zcash, right? There was the obviously there was the butterfly, right? There was also the deep Gartley on the from here to here to here to here to here, right? There was the deep Gartley. 2 completed M shapes on Zcash. This one here, look. There, the 786, right? That's the one we were talking about. Pivot around the yearlies. And the entry I gave on Zcash last was, of course, you just saw this one here. This was given live on stream, right? When that flip happened, I was saying, look, if you want to take a play on Zcash, there is one you can do. Aim for this, and if it goes higher, that's lovely, right? So you vastly exceeded this. That was 25%. And if you're still holding on to this trade, that is now a 67% move. This was given live on stream, right? So was Dash. Dash was a trade given live on stream. If you guys remember this one, if I can find it, one sec. Dash. Yeah, this trade here. This was given live on stream, and I know my bro Wizard took this one. One sec. We talked about Farcoin, we talked about Pump Fund, right? This is Dash right here. One sec. That's Dash. Right, let's look at CRO as well, and then I'll look at Pump Fund 2. We'll look at Pepe, because again, Pepe was another one given live, right? And look, it's slow, but it's up. From that entry, it is now up 36%, right? All you have to do was hold. If invalidation was met, like the minimum invalidation was if the 86 is lost, right? Just cut it. You would have just cut it. But yeah, let's take a look at CRO. That's just something I've looked at in ages. I think CRO as exchange is dog shit. So I don't know what the token's going to be looking like. But yeah, let's keep it high on things, I suppose. 1 second. Is this something you have in your port, bro? Edico. I mean, it's at very important levels. It's at a yearly level. So like, you know, again, if you want entries, risk management couldn't be simpler. That flip is your entry, right? Unless it's happened. Yeah, so if you get a retest here, or even like you see that retest attempt, you see that fair value gap mid being filled, you don't get that. You see aggressive sellers being absorbed. Doesn't matter if you don't get exact retest. You would just enter there. Invalidation would be if this is lost, you get out, right? Or maybe you get this, something like this if you're lucky. But otherwise, for spot, I will just do something like this. If you want to attempt like a spot play, I would do that. It's like a 10% move to those highs, and if you breach past those highs, then you'll be grabbing liquidity to like these highs here. Ultimately, like aiming for that yearly above, right? You know, we've got a daily seller zone here, so that holding is pivotal. That mid holding is very, very pivotal. Yeah, this one doesn't have to be complicated. You can genuinely just do that. Like it's been at range lows, so if that holds, I don't see why you wouldn't get like a nice little impulse up. Yeah, for sure, it's a range lows, bro. Opportunity is there, 100%. I agree. Yeah, if you will hold that, that is a very, very nice bottom. I would have loved it if they'd raided this wick to the left, but yeah, I mean it's what it is. Ultimately, if this is lowest lost, you're gonna buy this at like 0.05 cents. So this needs to hold, yeah, 0.07330. Let me add this to LS. What was it? Bunker live streams. Perfect. Okay. Anyway, back to this, and if Farcoin, we talked about that one already. Asta, right? This is another one we've been talking about for a long time. Asta. Rift of Virtual. Lit. I've talked about Lit last stream. But let me go to Lit first. I really like the M shape that Lit completed here. Alright, we talked about this. That is just 0.5886, like 2. That's beautiful, right? That's a bad. That's a nice bad. And then these wick lows, you flipped above, you've broken above the trend line. So Lit, it's got room for expansion, right? It can go on log all the way up to 123 before resistance is met in terms of supply. And that would line up very nicely with pretty much going to the range highs for where you currently are. This is my Lit entry. I thrown a bit more size on this one, seeing as how well hype is doing. I was wondering, maybe the narrative will spill over, right? And this one's like something that hasn't really moved yet, so maybe this will catch a nice little rotation. So I just lowered the leverage even further for this one. But basically, like, you know, like I was mentioning, right? Break above this, I'm in. Because I didn't enter this on the 886. We talked about it, but I didn't enter it, right? I entered it here. That was the entry I actually said I'm going to take, which is the breakout and re-entering into this range here. That's Lit. Another one, which one I want to go over is obviously there's Aave, right? There's so many guys that's been bottomed out. We've been looking at it. We've been saying, look, like it's just doesn't get better than that in terms of entries, right? So Aave could have a nice pop here, insanely nice pop. That entire trend line's about to get broken out of on Aave from your like October 2025 high. In fact, depending on how you draw it, I would treat it as a zone. But you're pretty much out of it, right? You've only got one left, and that's an extreme, just here. But above all of these, Aave will send. I think it will go towards 145. 130 to 145 would be the target for Aave. And again, it's not like this one, it's not too late for an entry or anything. Look, right now, what would you manage your risk around? $100. Could enter this now for spot, and it could be like, okay, if 100.51 is lost, I'll get out until you either get back above it or you go lower, right? To your lower levels. But again, money with the mouth is, this is my Aave entry here. Send it up further, I say. It looks good, right? Aave looks good. And then there's Pump. That's another one I really wanted to go over. LTC, Pump, right? There's so many. But let's just look at LTC. That was the M shape, obviously. LTC was simply the M shape. LTC is going to be here. Right there, mission completion, historical price range 1 mid, easy, right? My laptop's freezing. One sec, guys. That's LTC. There is pump. This one, again, we talked about this for so long. Same thing, right? 86 completion, deep crap. As long as this holds, you're broken out, you enter. That's what we'd be saying. So in hindsight, everything looks nice, right? But you know, I want you guys to remember, just if you were there for many of the streams, right, and you went and you looked at the recordings of the streams, and you still didn't pull the trigger. Just want you guys to remember this and really understand, like, this, to try and come to terms with, like, the psychological side of this, right? If you didn't pull the trigger, you got to ask yourself, why didn't I? Because that sort of retrospection or introspection, I'm not sure which one's the right word here, is extremely important. Because it's not too late, right? It's not too late. But what you don't want to do is still be scared. But if let's say we get one more macro pullback, that does end up being the low, you still don't pull the trigger and then you miss the move or something like this, that'll be one expensive lesson to learn. And you have to wait another cycle for opportunities, so on and so forth, right? That's why I don't want anyone, I don't think anyone in this server will be in that sort of bracket, right? Because obviously I'm here to support you guys. I'm here if you guys have any queries, any questions, any sort of, any help you need, I'm here for you guys. Obviously, that's why we're in this group, right? But I wouldn't want anyone to be here in the exact same position next cycle, right? That's comfort. So a few other ones I wanted to go over, like GMX, right? This is an entry I gave. It's up nicely, right? And again, it's like, look, when I give these entries here, I'm not comfortable. It's not like I'm feeling comfortable. I'm sat there comfy, like, oh yeah, this is definitely at the bottom. I'm giving an entry literally based on just a couple wave structures, right? It could very well go against me, but I don't care. And that's the reason, I put my balls on the line when I'm on stream and I'm streaming this and I'm giving these live setups, right? It could very well go against me. I know that, but I don't care about being wrong. I'm not here to just look right all the time. I'm here to actually give you guys proper alpha and to make sure you're informed enough so you can make, hopefully, the correct decisions in the right manner when the time comes. That's GMX. Some nice entries. Like I said, we talked about Asta, right? This is on his nice little way up. It's not really moved much, but hopefully we do get some of that volatility coming in. Basically, right? That's what I would want to see. This one is Asta. My laptop's been a nightmare today, guys, honestly. Just give me a moment. We've looked at Pepe already, right? It's up nicely. That's Pepe. So like every single setup I give you guys, every time I say this looks good, this, like I'm entering them, right? I'm not just laughing here, drawing lines on screen. Like, you know, I'll take those bids. Because execution is everything. It doesn't matter. Everything else is noise, is execution. Now, this morning we had Sol put up a chart for DOT, and I do agree that it looked decent. So I wanted to look over it real quick. Basically, what I like about it is, one sec, this, right? We have a completed M shape at those lows, 886, right, 0.5, followed by another completed M shape, and now you're getting that move up. Like, I think DOT, it's already had an actual really nice move up. This is the only concerning thing, I'd say. I wouldn't feel comfortable executing here just below these yearlies. But if those yearlies flip, actually, DOT looks good. The structure's there, but I've missed it. It's what it is. I've not got a position on DOT. I can't see a way in which I would enter this in a safe manner. For now, this high to this low, you're gonna, that 1.618, this area here needs to be flipped for me to consider the next range, right? I want that entire zone flipped, and I want that to flip after T2's been taken for this bigger move, like from that high to that low, because type 1's hit, right? We've got the type 2 return, so now I think 618 is gonna hit, and let's see, like, if we can flip it, I might take like a scalp to swing. Otherwise, this one's gone from me. I just can't enter here without compromising risk, and that's something I'm never gonna do. So, but yeah, DOT does look decent for opportunities in the future if that flip is proper. But pretty much everything's been like this, right? If you look at something like CFG, a project under DOT, this is Centrifuge. I was looking at it and I was thinking, look, there's a yearly level here to consider. Yearly buy seller zone. You've rejected off the mid, but if either you have a pullback to the low and it holds, something like this, right? Or you flip that mid. If that rejects, you have a short opportunity. If this holds or that flip holds, you have long opportunities on CFG. But yeah, that's some of the crypto that I wanted to go over, and not just go over, but rather update as well, right? I really wanted to update those ones because, you know, those are something we've been talking about for months. We've been talking about it for so long. Talk about how you manage your risk there, what the opportunity looks like, and now that it's come to pass, it's like, can't be surprised, right? We had I don't think we've gone over this one. We had a Say, right? Talking about how if Say reclaims some lows, it'd be decent. If that low ever got reclaimed, right, the exchange low on Say, we talked about how that would be extremely, extremely decent for an entry. We even gave ourselves like lower time frame levels to watch Say around. The question is, which chart again did I do it on? I must have been this one. I actually pulled the trigger on this before the flip even happened. I pulled the trigger on it just over here, just because I was thinking there's no way they just keep dropping this one. And it ended up working out, right? But the actual entry, like the proper, technically safe entry, would have been when the that there was flipping the support, right, on the lower time frame, the 2023 12-month low. I'll put these two here, and that's me done. Oh dear, come on. I'm gonna check back to chat now, guys. One sec. What do you think about the TON bullish flag forming? I'll take a look for you, Rudy. We looked at TON already, but yeah, let's take a look. I'm not sure if I saw a bullish flag, maybe on a different time frame. But let's take a look. One sec. TON. Let's go back to TON. Let's see if I... Do you refer to this here? I sort of get what you're trying to see. So you're basically saying this. And if this right here is your, let's say, flag, you're saying this, right? Potential $4 target. Maybe, right? I think personally, I'm just going to play this off horizontals, right? Just because, like I said, BTC is at resistance. So I don't know if, like, you know, we will go to those higher targets. All I care about is if I can catch an entry at areas like this where it's a yearlies and, you know, it's holding, and the entry is solid, like it holds, then I'm more than happy. I don't care if it doesn't go to the full flag target. I'm not going to view this as a flag, basically. Just because if I do, I'm going to be more impartial to hold to like $4 and it might not go there, right? So I'm just going to play this on a level-to-level basis with order flow in mind, so that when it looks like it's getting toppy as hell, before it maybe even gets to that target, I'm just going to be ready to just be like, yeah, I'm going to cut here, I'm going to take profits, maybe leave a runner or something like this. No problem, really, no problem at all. Did I share Aptos? Pretty sure. Didn't. Not sure. But in terms of crypto, like I said, right? I believe HBAR was an actionable error. Did we talk about that? We'll go here for HBAR. I was going to do stocks this stream as well, but I'll quickly just give you that as the tickers, right? But I can't go in depth into them. This has gone a bit longer than I thought it would have. But let's quickly look at HBAR because I noticed something interesting in it, I swear. Must be because I keep coming back to it. HBAR. What is this here? Oh yeah, no, we talked about this, right? We talked about that already. Okay, no problem. We talked about that. Okay, so one sec. I realized I hadn't shared this one. I'm not just LARPing with Aptos, I did take a position. I actually pinged this one off the lows. Like I said, say in Aptos, I was thinking there's no way they just drop those and not have it at least come up to grab some liquidity. I mean, again, this is just that, you know, experience like I'm talking about. Saying like, you know, you have TA to guide you, but experience plays a large part. So this one is Aptos. Yeah, there goes my laptop again. Oh man. Maybe it's because I got wallpaper engine today, right? And then I've got this like moving wallpaper on my Windows home screen. Maybe that's tanking my resources or something, I'm not sure. But it is just the fact that, yeah, so that's Aptos. Okay. So some of the stocks I really wanted to go over with you guys real quick today. Number one, SMCI. Okay, if you guys take a look at this, just real quick, M-shaped completion. We talked about this before already, but now I really like the impulse that it's getting. M-shaped completion, 886. Type 2 return, double bottom, right? To those that don't know what I'm talking about, it just sounds like I'm saying random words, but you guys know how powerful that is, right? And right now on linear, it's just on the precipice of this breakout. On log, it's in the middle of one, right? So on log, it's like, you know, it still has rooms to go towards 42. If that breaks out, obviously way higher targets. SMCI, keep an eye on it. This one looks insane. Just like, you know, throw your yearly buy seller zones on 4 months and you easily find an area to like pivot your order flow around on the horizontal. But SMCI looks good. Talked about Reco already, inflection, so on and so forth. Nokia, don't forget how good Nokia looks, right? This one looks insane. All that yearly like M-shaped completions and now you're broken out. You just manage your risk around the horizontals in this case, right? For Nokia, it looks good. For now, I'd wait for a flip of 13.01. Simple. Wait for a flip of 13.01 if you wanted to go higher. But on log, it's already flipped, but on linear, it hasn't. So I'll just wait for a flip of that on linear as well, right? Obviously, DXYZ. I was talking about this for so long with you guys saying this is my IPO play. And now this is up like 50-something% from where I personally entered from my average rather, right? Because I bid over time, and if you just took one entry when we talked about it, you're more than double. It's 126%. This one is, I put this one in, where is it? I think it's in stocks chat. One sec. It's here, right? There we go. So this one was a nice one. It didn't give me a chance to swap my Neo into it, unfortunately. It's what it is, doesn't matter. I'm in BHVN. I've already mentioned this to you guys as well. But look, so easy to manage risk. This is what I'm talking about, right? In fact, that looks like another completed M shape at these lows, right? That's a bat. That is a very, very nice, clean bat. Yeah. Massive M shape along with a completed M shape, right? There's a deep gully and then a completed M shape here. So if this area holds, right, this just general area here, like I feel like this could eventually catch that move to the upside. BHVN, right? Biohaven. QRVO, another one that's broke out, is retested, right? There's your breakout retest on linear. On log, you still have ways to go to actually tap that supply line, right? So there's some more room for growth basically. But you're pivoting, what was once resistance being flipped to support. It's as clear as day. So QRVO, right? Qorvo, semiconductors again, right? You guys know this is a sector that's popping off. Looks insane. Tell me that doesn't look insane. Almost looks like a dragon, right? Up. So that's one to watch. Enphase Energy, I mentioned this loads of times. I'm in this. Signers ran a bit already. We talked about this as well, right? There's Run. Easy to manage risk where we are. Again, look at previous streams for this one, guys, because I've gone over these plenty of times, these stocks. But yeah, just a few stocks for you guys to consider. I think LAC looks good as well, right? If you look at LAC looks like that's a very nice structure, right? All of these M shapes have now been completed on LAC. The high low has been confirmed. So if 580 flips into support, I think I'll try for a scalp to swing entry on this one. Either that or I want to move back towards the 4-month point of control that was created last 4-month close. Baba. Every few minutes, just 1 second, guys. Let this breathe 1 sec. It's frozen to all hell. Come on, man. This has never happened before. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I think Baba is good for continuation at some point. Right, this was a call I gave like ages ago, like at these lows. We had M-shape completions, but that's a completed M-shape here on Baba now as we speak as well. If you take a look here, just a few more guys, and then I'll be out your way. Yeah, this was the original play I gave. It was like 160% move. I don't think many of you actually. Maybe some of you knew me here, some of you didn't. Right, there was an M-shaped completion, deep Gartley, not deep Gartley, sorry, just normal Gartley accumulation. Like, it was just beautiful. But we do have a deep Gartley, not deep Gartley, but like we have an 8-4. 786s have been hit basically, right? It's a bit too shallow for a Gartley, but ultimately all I care about is that a 786 has been hit. Trend line's been broken out of. So if this resistance gets flipped to support, the grey box basically, like Baba has some moves up left in it. Then there is this bastard here, JD. I was looking at this the other day. Look at this one. I don't know if some good news is going to come out for this or what, but that is a completed M shape. That's the 886, right? That's a completed macro bat right there. Obviously, you can put down the 2.24 and stuff as well, right? And then after that, we also have a deep Gartley. 618, 886, right? 1.618. The 0.86 is here for a move, and now you're accepting above the macro bat 886. As long as you're above that 886, you know, you look for that scalp to swing entry to the upside. in my opinion, for JD. Right, easier to manage risk basically. That's why I like this one, JD. We talked about Estee Lauder, talked about Oracle. Oracle was an entry I actually gave. It's got a nice move already. Estee Lauder, it's insane move, right? Off that zone we pointed out. Hopefully we get that 886, but if not, like, we'll see. It's currently at a supply zone, so wait for a flip of that for entries if you didn't enter down over here. Or we hopefully get one more drive down to the 886 itself. But that is a smiley face. Like, there's no mistake about it. That's a smiley face. So Estee Lauder. Just a lot of opportunities still. Like, some have gone, some haven't gone. Like, you just, whatever's left, you just focus on those. Don't focus on what's gone. Focus on what can you still do. Right? That's it. But yeah, those are some quick stock picks as well. But yeah, I just wanted to go over this obviously because, like, these are the, we've been talking about this for months and months, saying like, these are areas where you would attempt your swing longs, you would attempt your spot bids if you're going to be partaking, right? Because invalidation is clear. It doesn't matter if we go down, it doesn't matter if we think we're going to go lower. If you're going to take a bid, you're going to do so at these areas. And now we're getting a reaction of those areas. So obviously it's worth taking an updated look on them, right? Still lots of opportunities, like I told you guys. Zoom out if you think you haven't missed out on anything. Got more time left. It's just like intraday traders, yes, you missed out. If you're not called the move, obviously you missed out, right? But for higher time frame swings and stuff, like, you haven't missed out. So don't be disheartened, right? Just pattern up, it'll be fine. Well, that was everything I wanted to go over today, guys. Updates on all the, all the different sort of plays we looked at so far in the past. Some new stocks for you to put in your radar, and obviously our stream next week as well. If anything crazy happens, I'll go live if I can. Anytime, bro. Obviously, you guys see I've got the server tag going, so I'd appreciate it if you rep that, Bunker to the world, let's go. But yeah, guys, apart from that, if you have any questions or anything like that, just put it in chat. And let's see what next week brings, right? I don't know if it's gonna go higher or lower, no idea. But based on how BTC looks right now, everything's above support, I would say higher. But like, Sunday's pumping, and normally in crypto, if Sunday pumps, Monday tends to take some back, right? So I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I got it today, bro. BNKR. Because blockchain asked if I had a server tag. I was like, well, I don't, but if you guys are gonna wear it, then I can make one. And then people are like, yeah, I'll wear it. So I made one earlier today. Rep the clan, gang. No problem, bro. Yeah, thank you. I think if you just click on the BNKR tag, it'll have an option saying adopt this tag. You just click on that and it should let you do it. But yeah, guys, I'll end this recording here. I'll put this on YouTube and stuff, and I'll